Hey people, Rio Wolfert here. Today let's talk about the 5 most essential guitar techniques when it comes to the right hand. And this video is not only going to be for beginners, it's actually also interesting for advanced or even expert players, because let's be honest, fundamentals, basic, that's stuff that we always want to come back to from time to time at least, just to give it a little refresh, give it a little oiling and make it even more fluent, because we can always get better no matter how good we already are. So let's go. Let's start with the first technique, alternate picking. You need a pick for this one. Alternate picking is when you hit a string more than once and you do it by alternating between downstrokes and upstrokes. So you're not just doing downstrokes, like say for example I got a riff like this one. Right now I did it just with downstrokes. Let me do the same thing with up and down strokes. Now I can do the same thing only on one string. And there already I'm doing alternate picking, because I'm alternating all the time between downstrokes and upstrokes. And downstrokes, upstrokes, alternate picking, for me that's like a fundamental principle of like the most primitive fundamental principle. It's like up down, in and out, female male, night and day, cold and hot. You know what I mean? Yin and yang. That's just that fundamental principle. That's like universal fundamental principle almost. We find that like breathing in, letting air out, breathe in, breathe out. And it's the same thing here, downstroke, upstroke. When I do a downstroke, for me it almost feels like I'm pushing the string. When I do a upstroke, it feels like I'm pulling the string. Now listen to this, that makes a different sound, and it actually also makes everything feel different. When I play that same riff only using downstrokes, now be aware of how it feels when I play it with alternate strumming. Already my body starts moving differently. It sounds differently, it feels differently. That's because we have that fundamental principle of, you know, of that alternating thing in there. As I said, like yin and yang, and I cannot emphasize that enough, how for me that's like the most intuitive way of using your pick and of playing guitar. It's just that alternating thing. It's like when you're playing a drum and you're not just doing it with your right hand, but you know, it's natural to use both hands when you're playing bongo or when you're even playing the drum set, you know. There you have it too. You got 2 hands and of course you're alternating between those 2. It's a fundamental principle. You can really do great stuff with alternate picking, starting from just strumming power chord riffs, but doing tremolo, or even playing scales relatively fast. It's really great when you're on one string and when you want to play that fast. You can, as I just demonstrated, do the tremolo, but of course you can also do different notes, single notes. Something like this maybe. beginner struck right there. That's a really prime example of really cool alternate picking. I know a lot of people play it like this with pull-offs, but Angus Young actually, at least on the record, plays it with alternate picking. I did a video just on that. So yeah, alternate picking, really cool technique. One of my favorite techniques to do shredding and all that kind of stuff. But alternate picking really has a problem when you want to start incorporating more than one string. And that problem is trying to be solved by economy picking. So that's the next technique, fundamental technique I want to talk about, economy picking. As I just said, alternate picking is really intuitive and really great, especially if you're just on one string. But as soon as you want to play more than one string, which probably is going to happen, there's a problem with alternate picking. I'm going to show you what that is. You got down, let's say, you got some scale you want to play. Down, up, down. And now I want to change the string in order to get the next note in my scale. Whoops, which would be this one. So I want to play this. Right now I did it with alternate picking. But see, down, up, down. Now the next note is going to be an upstroke, but my hand already did a downstroke right here. So it's kind of, from an economic viewpoint, it's kind of stupid to do a upstroke, right? I mean, it's cool from the motion that I talked about earlier, but it's stupid from an economic, you know, from the motion, just from the economics. It's much smarter, and that's the solution of economy picking, to do a downstroke instead, like this. 1, 2, 3. That's down, up, down. Now instead of doing an upstroke, I'm just gonna do a downstroke. And I can play the scale like that. And of course, you can use economy picking just to play riffs. It's gonna be a different sound. It's not gonna have that in-out, that left-right, you know, that alternating motion, that groove in there. It's gonna be a different groove. But sometimes it's gonna sound tighter. Most of the time it's gonna be more like that pushy feel. And sometimes that's what you want. Like say you got a riff like for example, something like this maybe. You know, that's like that. I think that's like the Painkiller riff from Judas Priest. It's kind of a metalish riff. It's, you know, heavy metal. You want it to have that thump, that chug. You need a lot of down strokes for that with your pick. So, and you got string changes in there. You're all the time you're alternating between these two strings right here. Now let me play that slow, and I'm doing economy picking right here. So I'm starting with a downstroke. Next one is a string change to the low E string. Of course, it's gonna be an upstroke. Next one, again the E string, downstroke. But now instead of doing an upstroke on the next string, I'm gonna do a downstroke. So the pattern's gonna be down, up, down, down. See how it's really got that badass sound with that economy picking style? I'm gonna do it with alternate picking just to show you the difference. Alternate picking, it would sound like this. Let me think. Am I even doing alternate picking? Let me think right here. Yeah, that's alternate picking right here. Same thing for economy picking. Yeah. Now that's metal, you know. It's got that thump. If I had a riff like that, I I would play it with economy picking just because of the sound. And it makes it easier to play it too in faster tempos, in my opinion. Another really cool example or variation of economy picking would be sweep picking. And sweep picking and economy picking, for me, it's the same principle. You want to play some kind of arpeggio, like let's say you want to play E minor, like that. Instead of doing alternate picking, where you would do, you just do. You know, and I'm not the greatest, I don't have the greatest chops for sweep picking or economy picking, but I like to use it for the sound I can make with that. Something like that. Another cool example is when you have like little rolls in there, like for example stuff like this. Again, chunky stuff. Really great players to listen to when it comes to economy picking is Ingrid Malmsteen, Joe Bonamassa, Eric Johnson, John Petrucci. Who else? A lot of guys. There's some girls too. A lot of guys use economy picking, of course. Great example for alternate picking would be Albert Lee and Steve Morse. What comes to my mind? Put in the comments below if you have some other examples. Next fundamental technique for right hand. We're gonna put our pick aside. Just gonna play with bare fingers. That's the third technique. You're gonna have essentially a completely different sound when you start playing with your bare fingers. For me, it's also a really intuitive way of playing guitar. In fact, that's how I started playing guitar. I started self-taught, got a guitar for a Christmas present when I was 10, and I didn't get a pick with that. So, you know, I had a VHS cassette where I had like tutorials how to learn chords and stuff like that, and a little booklet with that. And I just tried to play that stuff, but because I didn't have a pick, I just started plugging strings with just my bare fingers. And for me, there's like two different approaches. There's like this blues rock approach, where you basically imagine you have a pick in your hand, and but you're still playing with your bare fingers. So all your downstrokes you would do with your thumb, and all your upstrokes you're gonna do with either, most of the time with your index finger, but sometimes with your middle or even ring finger. It could sound something like this. That's a really raw way of playing. You got players like Richie Kotzen, Jeff Beck, Jerry James Nichols that play in that kind of way when it comes to finger picking. There's also a different approach, and you can blend, all these techniques can be blended with each other. Like the other approach would be like that more classical kind of finger picking, which means you could have arpeggios, like let's say you got just your basic arpeggios like this approach is more you're imagining you're playing piano actually, because now you can play more than one note simultaneously at the same time, and it's really at the same time. It's not like with a pick where when I play a chord and I want to make all the notes sound at the same time, it's going to be like this. But it's actually still, you know, I'm going from my lowest string to my highest string in a very rapid rate, so it kind of sounds like it's at the same time, but it's actually ringing one after the other. And with this kind of picking technique, it's actually like a piano where you push all the notes at the same time. I can play, you can play more than one melody at the same time. Like you could. You know, you got your this one right here and then. Or stuff like. Really cool technique, check that out. Next technique, let me think, what could be the next motherfucking technique? Oh yeah, next fundamental technique is called chicken picking or hybrid picking. What you need is your pick again, but now you're not just gonna use your pick, but you're also gonna use your other fingers that are available. Because you're holding your pick with your thumb and your index finger, you still got your middle finger, your appendix, and your little pinky left. Now, in my case, my pinky got destroyed when I was a little kid, so I'm not ever gonna use that one. But still, I have these two here, which I can use. So, here's a riff that I wrote for my band, Wolf Spirit, and it's on the album 3. It goes like this, and it's got hybrid picking in it. It's kind of, you know, you're blending both worlds. And it's a great style of playing. Country players do that kind of style a lot. But also you got Zakk Wylde, you got John Five, who else? Eric Johnson, of course. Oh man, so many players nowadays do hybrid picking. It's not just country. It's you can find it everywhere, and I love that kind of style too. Because maybe it's because I can't decide if I want to ditch my pick. I love playing with a pick, but I also love playing with bare fingers. And now I can just blend both techniques. That economy picking, that problem that economy picking is trying to solve, you know what I talked about when you start incorporating more than one string and you got strings to skip. You can solve that problem with hybrid picking really easy. Like, let's say you got a riff like something like that, like. Now, to play that lick, it goes like this, slow. Something like that, right? You got a lot of string skipping. If I would try to play that with alternate picking, I can't even do it, man. What? Like, I can't. Fuck it, man. What the fuck? Oh, like this. Like, you know what I mean? It's a fuck for my brain just to try to play that with alternate picking. Now, if economy picking, it's possible. I guess if I would practice that with economy picking, and if I would invest like a couple hours every day, I would get to a point where I could play it in speed. But to be honest, you know, I can just do it with chicken picking. I can just do it with hybrid picking. Or I could play it with my bare fingers, of course. But basically it's the same thing. I'm doing all the downstrokes with my pick. I'm doing all the upstroke with my appendix. So that's a cool example. Another example. That's Ben Gallagher from the song Stomp. He got a really cool riff in there, and it's just cool to play it with hybrid picking. You know, you can see where I'm going with this. Hybrid picking is just cool. Try it out. We got alternate, we got economy, we got bare finger playing, we got hybrid picking, two-hand tapping. Tapping with your right hand. Again, a technique where I'm going to put my pick aside. I don't need it for this technique. What you want to do is you're doing hammer-ons on the fretboard. So you're tapping like this. You know, I'm just hammering down on my fretboard and the note will ring. It's just the same when I do a hammer-on right here, but I'm doing it with my right hand. And now when I mix it with my left hand, you can play licks like this, for example. You can play licks like this. Van Halen kind of stuff. But you can also do crazy stuff. Or Joe Satriani kind of style. Wait a second. Something like this. I don't know how it goes. Something like that, you know? Two-hand tapping, really cool technique. I'm gonna talk about one bonus technique because I just think it's really, really important. I'm gonna talk about string muting with your right hand. And this is kind of like the sixth technique, and but it's a technique that's everywhere. It's more like a habit that you have to incorporate into all the styles that we just talked about right now. It doesn't matter if it's alternate picking. Like when string muting means that all the strings that I don't want to ring, I'm going to mute them with my right hand, actually also with my left hand. And let's say I'm doing, gosh, like, yeah, like let's say I'm playing with my bare fingers. We got some distortion going on. See what I'm doing right here, for example. Got a little bend going on, and my thumb is muting all these four strings. My appendix is muting the high E string, and I'm only plugging with my index finger the string that I want to ring. Same thing when you play with pick. Now with a pick, as you just heard, it gets a little bit more noisy. It's a little bit harder to mute stuff. In fact, I think it's sometimes not even as possible as when you play with your bare fingers. But you just have to make it a habit to always search for the strings that you don't want that they ring. People, what's the conclusion of this video? I just talked about the essential techniques. Using a pick, you got alternate picking. You got the problem with the string skipping, so you can do economy picking. Playing with your bare fingers, you got that blues style and that classical style. Of course there's other styles like flamenco, where you got your rasguado and stuff like that. Hybrid picking, where you kind of blend both techniques. All these techniques are there to serve you as a musician. You as a musician, you got something to say, right? Like a singer that's singing a song and he wants to express an emotion. It's the same thing with us guitar players. You gotta have something to say, like some attitude or some emotion that wants to come out. And all these techniques, they're there to serve you. Let the music be the master, and the techniques, they're just there to open, like tools to open up possibilities of letting you say these things that you want to say with your guitar. I think if you as a guitar player are capable of incorporating all these different techniques, it makes you incredibly versatile and fun to listen to. You can play a lot of different dynamics. Yeah, the expression palette of what you can be able to say is just gonna grow exponentially. And don't make the mistake, that's one last thing I want to say, don't make the mistake of letting the techniques be the master over you. I sometimes see people that can play economy picking, for example, and they can play a scale like that. I can't imitate it. They can play it so fucking fast, it's incredible. And I admire those people. I have big respect for them. But you know, they're just playing scales. You know what I mean? They're talking a lot. They aren't saying much, you know? Don't let that happen. Let the music be the master, and let these techniques and methods serve the purpose of saying something in your song. That's my approach, at least. People, let me know. I know there's a lot of different other techniques. Pinch harmonics, scraping with a pick, for example. Like I said, with bare hand fingers, you can play flamenco, you play rasguado. There's different styles of even how you pluck the strings when playing classical guitar and classical style. I know we could talk for hours with all these techniques, but just give like a raw little overview. Let me know what you think about this. Let me know what I forgot, and put some comments and love in the box down below. Subscribe to my channel. Thank you for watching this video, and see you next time.